So it definitely took like 10 seconds to go live. So maybe we need to start it out earlier than that. But I guess here we go. Well, welcome to Rotten Potatoes with Bryce.
And Forrest, and we're here to bring your favorite TV shows, movies, and video games.
On this week, we're going to take a little bit of a solemn dive. We're going to go and explore the movie Worth. It's a 9/11 story, and so might get a little hot and heavy in here. I feel like it definitely will on my side. So, um,
Yeah.
I can sit back and enjoy the show.
Yeah. But overall, as a movie, a little long and drawn out, but
Oh no.
you good?
I don't know if you're cutting out or am I cutting out.
I hear you, but
Like I hear you talking, but it's like in the past.
really,
I think now we're good.
okay.
I hope everything's good. What the fuck?
It's probably okay. As long as I sound okay now, right? Maybe.
Yeah, you sound totally fine now.
Okay. But I
Let
was
me
just
speed
saying that.
test real quick. No, go ahead. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
But basically, just saying that it's a little bit drawn out and a little dry across the board, but it had good moments and it had a good plot throughout. So it was.
Yeah, it definitely was very. I don't know. I feel like it didn't hit on the points that it needed to hit on, and it kind of like made things drawn out that really didn't matter.
Oh yeah.
Because like even like for example, like I know this is like fast forwarding all the way to the end, but like when all of a sudden like the stop the fix came out like moments beforehand, like there was like and like they like barely touched on it where he's like, I just woke up and like let's go figure stuff out,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden out of nowhere it's stop the steal's over. So
Right.
it's like oh, or stop the wow, that was the wrong term
Yeah.
to use.
Well.
Um, stop the fix or the fix is fixed or the or
Right.
whatever the fund is fixed.
The fun is fixed.
So
Yeah.
so like I feel like that should have been. I think I would have enjoyed a whole lot more of like those meetings and kind of doing a deeper dive in what truly was wrong. Because really, I mean, like the anyone that got sick a few months after, and depending on the state, whether the gay spouses were able to get part of the income and stuff like that. Really, that's like the only two things that I felt like it hit on, and I know for that many people to be involved, it would have been a whole lot more.
Right.
So I am very curious on, I think it should have dove a little bit deeper into those meetings to like help the fix or help the,
Mm-hmm.
fund the fix or fix the fun,
Right.
whatever. That's a hard phrase to say. I don't know
Yeah. It's
why I'm
kind of
having
weird.
trouble with it, but I definitely
Yeah.
am.
I mean, they definitely took a rabbit hole down like the Donato story, right? That was like one of
Yeah.
the main ones, and like it was important because it's like a first responder, and it's important to hit that area, right? Because it's like a huge piece of 9/11 and like important. Um, but yeah, like we didn't get a lot of details about the differences between everybody's compensations and why and like how they ended up actually going about it. Like they kind of alluded to like life insurance policies are going to be included into it and like all these different pieces, but like we never got any clarity on it.
No, like there was no like formula built whatsoever. And that's what was kind of annoying because like I have friends that are in that kind of game where they factor in like risks and what would go into like an insurance policy, like how much you'd have to pay a month because how big of a risk you are, and those people that go and get their masters in math just to have those formulas fixed up and solved. And so I thought it'd been a whole lot more interesting if they did a deeper dive on figuring out those formulas and how they even tweaked them, because really we don't even know how they were tweaked. All we knew
Right.
is that it was fixed.
Mm-hmm.
That's all we knew. And it felt like
Right.
that part was so rushed at the end. Like it was just like, boom.
Right. And it also seemed like such uh, a weak approach at figuring out a equation to begin with because they were just straight up like salary. That's it. Nothing else was included. Nothing at all. Like it was just this weak ass like basic equation that was like, if you made this much, you get this much. Like it's like they didn't put anything into it. And
Right,
it's
like they showed that CEO made a couple mil off of it, and then they
right,
showed the janitor made like only what was it, like 300,000.
right.
And I was like, okay, I mean, like, and that didn't make sense whatsoever. And like in the fact that like some people even pressed that it should have just been a flat rate, that who
Right.
whatever went through, everyone should have gotten paid the same. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like when I started like seeing that, it's like, man, fuck rich people. Like I really fucking can't stand them, because they definitely like dismantled that shit so that they could get paid more, and
Yep.
they tried to be a thorn in every side that they possibly could be. And
Right.
also fuck the government. Like the fact that they were like billion-dollar corporations, like, oh, we can't handle this shit. You guys got to write new laws in order to so we
Yeah.
don't get sued. I
Well,
thought that was such fucking
fuck
horseshit.
the corporations for fucking
Yeah.
being like, we're not gonna get sued over this. Like, we're not going under. Like, y'all gotta take the heat. Like, y'all fucked up. Like, it is what it
It
is.
was
Like,
your airline that didn't do the proper measures
right?
to make sure that it
Y'all
wasn't.
didn't catch this shit. Like, what do you expect?
Yeah.
It should be a
Yeah.
lawsuit.
And that would have only taken down 2 airline companies. There's what, 13 of them.
Yeah,
So it could have,
they could have picked
taken
up
their
the
place.
slack.
Yeah,
Right.
100%. It was utter bullshit
Right.
that was going on. And then the whole Mike situation. So the funny thing is, and it's not funny, I guess, but the thing is, I watched the Rage Cage version of the movie. I can't remember what it's called. Ladder 49, I think,
Oh, okay.
where
Yeah.
he's the police chief, and they get stranded out in the building, and everything like that. And their radios weren't working. They both had operational radios, but they couldn't get out. They couldn't get any signal through that. And so I think growing up, and every year I feel like there's a history lesson or something going on. Some more information gets released. Um, that I've never once heard anything about those radios not working in high-rise buildings or through rubble, and that's what caused a significant amount of the issues, which
Right.
I had no idea. Blew me away that we lost so many firefighters and police officers and other people just because we couldn't communicate.
Right.
Like 21st century could not communicate. Does not make sense.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And the fact that they like put in request after request after request to get those things fixed. And it's just, I don't know, it just blew me away that
Yeah.
shit like that was going on. It was crazy. I felt like, I mean, granted, like none of us would ever be prepared for planes going into a building, but at the same
No.
time, I feel like you should have more on deck to prepare for
Right.
getting people out of a burning building
Mm-hmm.
like that.
Because it's New York, right? Like there's tons of skyscrapers and tall buildings. Like, why wouldn't that be a priority?
Right. Like that wasn't the only high rise in the whole city.
Yeah.
That was one of hundreds, if not thousands,
Like,
of high rises in the whole city.
I don't get that.
Yeah, it makes no sense whatsoever that it was fucked around like that. And like hearing those stories kind of tore me up. I don't know how real any of those were or anything like that, but man, like when the guy was in the top part of the floor, and you could hear her, I guess, that he told his wife that he was going to take the next elevator and let other people get on, and then was sitting there just talking to her through the whole thing. I thought that was pretty tough. That was
Yeah.
just, it was crazy.
It's like the one that the lady was saying that he always had a good sense of humor or whatever,
Yeah.
and he could hear it over the speakers, like saying like evacuate the building. And he's like, I evacuate the building. I'm like, yeah, it's a good idea. Like, just to the end, had his humor, and just
Yeah,
what a thing.
it's tough. And like I kind of did a little bit like a just it's that time of year, so I'm doing watching videos and
Mm-hmm.
and other stuff, and um it was can't remember which flight it was, but it was a black box in the phone recordings coming out of there, and man, that shit was tough. I mean, that's you had people talking to the black box saying that make sure that my wife and parents and children hear this, we'll see you on the other side type deal. And then that one flight attendant, she's like, I'm all the way at the back, but I think two of the attendants have gotten stabbed and they're trying to overrun the cockpit and everything. They got
Mm-hmm.
bombs. And then like the ATC is like, I don't know, like, can you repeat that again? Like, I don't think I heard that
Right.
right. And then, repeats it like a few more times. Like, it's just something that just wasn't.
Yeah.
I really don't know how we weren't prepared. I just don't understand.
I guess
Because they had to run through scenarios that planes were getting hijacked. I mean, that just had to be that. Like, I just don't understand how you don't have a scenario being an airline. Like, that's one of the few things that are going to happen on a
you would
plane.
think so, but I don't know.
I don't. It's just.
I mean, obviously, protocols were not what they are now. Anything close to them,
Right.
But you would think there would be something to be done about it. But and obviously, the group took the one plane down because they retook the plane. So I mean, granted, it was the passengers doing it, but they did it. So
yeah, they were able to make sure it didn't make it to the White House, which is kind of cool. And that's
granted,
a great story.
If something was going to get blown to shit, the White House is probably better than a tower of people because we can rebuild the White House. Like I get it's a symbol and all that, but like
Yeah, but the White House would have never gone down just for the sole fact that they have anti-air turrets.
Well, they would have
the
shot it down before it got there. Just
yeah,
they would have.
And then they had two fighter jets and getting ready to shoot it down before it went down on its own. So.
Right.
That was the one thing I didn't see. So what was it last year? Yeah, for the 19th anniversary, I was able to make it there, and shit, dude. I mean, it was packed. I mean, it was dense, and it was during COVID, so it's even crazier to even think of how dense it was during where the tower stood and whatnot. I mean, it was packed to a brim, but you could literally hear a pin drop. I mean, it's quiet. It was as quiet can be, and I mean, it was just.
Yeah.
It's an intense scene, even just 19 years later. That.
Yeah.
Just that whole area is just. Kind of crazy. It's kind of nuts. But anyways, okay, let's get back to the story. So, another part that I didn't get and I didn't care for, and it just kind of annoyed me, but I somewhat understood why it was there, was the damn opera scene. And that song was like, again, the song was really stupid, but then it also tied in his feelings that, that the people that were in the white, or that lost their families in the tower, obviously they lost and lost and lost. And I guess that's what the song was supposed to kind of bring up those memories, but Jesus.
Yeah.
That was so awful. Like, I don't know.
No, it was bad.
Could not handle that. And it was just so stupid. He's like, "Oh, I thought I'd see you here." Yep. Okay, bye. Like, just.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know.
It felt very forced every time they were trying to like show them building their relationship up of like understanding each other and trying to get on the same level, it's like maybe it was that way, maybe it was super forced for them to have to do that, but like it's just awkward, I guess.
Yeah. It just, I don't know, it just, some of the stuff that I felt like they harped on and believed that would have told the story, I felt were the wrong pieces. I just really, I don't know. They just didn't. I felt like the story could have been told so much better because it's an interesting story. Like,
yeah,
I saw the preview and read the synopsis on it, and I was like, this is something I'm definitely going to watch, regardless if we do a pod on it or not. Like, this is going to be awesome.
So, I don't know if this has any effect on you or not, but like the actor that played Ken,
Ray Kroc.
Yeah, I think somebody else could have done it better. Like, not to like dog him as an actor, but like, I feel like he wasn't the right person for the part.
See, like Michael Keaton, which is the actor that you're talking about, I feel like he's always a bad person.
Right. So immediately I'm going in saying,
I guess he was Batman.
This guy's an asshole. Batman. Right, but ever since Batman, he's been an asshole. Like,
Yeah.
So and I just feel like going into it, that's my feeling of him immediately is like this guy's just a douche and like he's gonna fuck somebody over doing this, right?
And it just seems like, I don't know, he just doesn't. I've never liked him as an actor. My dad loves him for some odd reason. I
I
don't
don't
know
like him
why,
either.
but I've never like he did really good as Ray Kroc in McDonald's Story, but I think it's because he was playing an asshole as an asshole.
Right.
And I literally watched that for Nick Offerman, but I don't know, he just wasn't the right pick.
No, he wasn't.
It was just such an odd pick. But Caesar from Hunger Games, was it Stanley Tucci? I think he did amazing.
He
I
was the
liked
best
his
pick for that part for sure.
I and I was so sad when he was taking the food out of the fridge and he was getting ready to eat it and he took the tape and he put it on the door seal
Yeah.
because it was his wife's handwriting. Like that's the last time that she made food for him, which is like fuck. Like that shit is rough. Like I couldn't imagine going through
Right.
any of that.
No.
I couldn't. I really couldn't. It's just
Yeah, it's
that was rough.
yeah, I mean like things like that just show like even though it's like a small little thing, right? Like it just shows like an immense like level of like emotion and like what people were feeling in that time and like just trying to hang on to whatever they can, right? Like whatever they can for this
Yeah.
because it was all of a sudden for all these people. It was just that day,
Six
all those people were
thousand
gone,
families.
just gone. And there's no way to cope with that. There's no way to deal with that in a good way, especially like our mental care still isn't great in this country, but like back then it was still probably worse,
No, I mean
you
it
know?
was
Like
so. I mean you even saw it with the whole gay thing. I mean it was
right,
so. Even 20 years was not that long ago, but it was completely different. I mean,
right.
going into have anxiety or any other issues, you're looked at as like some kind of loser or worthless to society at that time. So,
Mhm.
trying to reach out and going to support groups and whatnot, I think had like a negative, stigma on it, which is
Right,
fucking crazy. Because obviously now it's a whole different world. But
right.
but yeah, going back then, I mean, they were probably, a lot of people probably didn't go and they turned to drugs and alcohol. Um, in fact, I saw on TikTok today, there's this guy, I think his name's Paul or Polly. He was part of the crew that the plane that went into the South Tower. So he was off rotation. But the way that it works, like they hung out with the same crew pretty much quite a bit.
Mhm.
And he said, that he literally ran that flight the day before. Like he ran that exact flight that would have gone into the towers. But anyways, so he's starting in Boston where the plane took off, and he's taking a drink cart, like an airport drink cart, and he's wheeling it all the way to Ground Zero. And he started this like a few days ago. It might have been a whole week, but he's taking it all the way through. And he's like, I didn't tell anyone about it. I didn't really, I'm doing this for my friends, for my what I considered family. They're close, and that's just who, that was my crew, and they're all gone. And then
Mhm.
he went into a story about every single one of them because he had their like photo on a dill and how much, how two of them are engaged to get married. Two flight attendants were. That's fucking nuts right there. But anyways, so he started doing it. It picked up traction. Like a bunch of firefighters are escort him through the city. Like they have their lights on all around him and whatnot. And
Mhm.
they've he says he has people like telling him stories about where they were at and what was going on during that time, and some people join him for a little bit and then dip out and whatnot. I
Mhm.
thought that was pretty crazy, pretty powerful. I feel like, but he
Mhm.
made it. He's gonna exactly get to the spot, Ground Zero, and I think at the time where the plane hit. Like I think that's what his whole mission is and whatnot, which is just nuts. And the whole drug thing. He said that he didn't know what to do, and he just went into a deep depression and got into opiates. And he decided 6 years ago, on September 11th, 6 years ago, this Saturday, he decided to get clean, and he's been sober since. So he said he went into a deep, deep, deep depression. and almost died, almost overdosed, and that's why he kicked it. So
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, it's 6,000 families, which already is a crazy amount, right? But then it's like all those people that are also like considered family to those people too, right? Like, and like that's just think about how many families technically that is, right? And then it just expands from there because
yeah,
it's just such a butterfly effect.
right, because you have whole crews. You know what I mean? Like those people obviously worked in an office or worked somewhere where they have several coworkers, and then that all gets affected by them, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just crazy. I guess we should have had Sam or Branton on. Now that I think about it, because they were in State College, or not State College, but right next to State College. I can't remember the
Right.
town where the nuclear facility was at, where they thought they were going to send a plane into
Ah.
that. And so they had a whole situation that you and I, you know what I mean? Like you and I watched it on TV and we had discussions, but
Mm-hmm.
they truly lived in the terrorism type deal where they thought they could possibly die.
Right.
Um, should have
That's
thought about
crazy.
that. Dang it. But yeah, I've heard Sam talk about it a few times where
Huh.
because they thought they were going to hit the nuclear test site. Because I think State College has their own like little miniature reactor, which
Yeah, I think they said something about that. That rings a bell.
K-State has their own reactor as well. So I mean, it's not odd or
Yeah.
uncommon to have campuses that have a miniature reactor.
Yeah.
But it'd be crazy to what I mean? Because really, you think about it, like currently they only live like an hour and a half away from New York City,
Right.
and where they were at in high school was maybe 3 hours, if that, from. And then they're not even that far from the Flight 93, the one that crashed in the field.
Hmm.
So I was
Dang.
talking to Sam and Brandon about it. What was it, yesterday, the day before? And they're, I think, like 2 hours, maybe 3 hours away from. Because I told them when we go up there for spring break, I kind of want to, because I've already, seen the memorial site and the new World Trade Center and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
I thought maybe we could um, go see that. Because
Yeah.
speak of the devil, so like they're like, oh my god, my fingers are so off. So they're like right, I would say here-ish, and New York City is obviously like right here. And then like I think it's like right here or so is where the crash site is.
The fact that you happen to have a map on your shirt is great.
I know. For those people that are listening, not watching
Right.
the video. I was like, I looked down, I was like, oh shit, Pennsylvania.
Yeah. But man, I
So I think, they
good.
were like State College is like roughly like right there
Yeah.
from, so they're not that far from that original crash site or New York
Mm-hmm.
City.
Right. It's all in that area. But I had accidentally watched something else when we first started this because there was a number one 9/11 thing on Netflix and there's a number four thing on Netflix, and I started watching the first one and didn't even think about it. Um, and like the beginning of that one, like is a lot of like actual like real footage of like that day and like taken from cameras and that would just have to be running that day, and like you see the plane go into the tower from like multiple angles, and like it's hard to get your head to like wrap around that that's even a thing that's actually happening, because like stuff like that you see in movies and you see like made up, right? But like to actually like get your head to think that's actually going into a building and like that's actually all real, it's all happening. Like if you were there that day, like trying to figure out like if you saw it happen, you're like, no, 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 that didn't happen. That's not real. There's no way. Like it's not possible. Like
And it just like disappears. Like
yeah, it's just
it's
gone.
not
It's
even
just
like, just like, and that's what still blows me away. And then if that would have happened today, we'd have way more high definition and way more cameras on that piece. So the
yeah,
fact that there's that many angles,
right.
20 years ago,
Which
is kind of crazy within itself.
I'm almost happy that we don't have a ton of footage of it. Like I'm good. I'm glad we do have footage of it happening, and like that's good that we have it for historical purposes and like showing people what happened and all that. But like, I think if we had any better cameras or footage, like we would just be seeing horrific details of what happened and like just
Right, like when you see all those
more.
people jump from their building.
Yeah, you just see more terror and bloodshed and just terrible things.
Yeah,
So I
because
think
That's what's fucking crazy, and like people are making a big deal about it, which it's not necessarily a big deal. Like all kind of so like my teacher was kind of obsessed with the whole story of September 11th, and
hmm
she's followed it pretty much to a T. And um, my senior year, or no, it would have been my junior year, right? Our junior year would have been the 10-year anniversary, right? 2011.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
and so there was this law, and there's still another law, and that's what Biden was talking about now. But there's a law that X amount of documents had to stay secret and not released to the public because of the shit that families were still emotional about, and that it just was not appropriate
Right.
to release some of the information. And so they did a 10-year window, and then, the president has to request that those documents, kind of have to be unsealed. And
Right.
there's a whole big plethora of stuff that came out during that time. And then we're about to do it again on this Saturday, where a whole lot more secret documents are going to be released over kind of all the situations and all the radio chatter and all the reports that were done during that time. So it's kind of nuts, and
Yeah.
just everything that happened that you kind of don't realize what's going on, and it's just, I don't know, it's just absolutely crazy. And just hearing the voicemails and hearing those conversations, that's what's really crazy. And
Yeah.
like, I remember when it was going on, I was eating breakfast, I was eating Fruit Loops, sitting in front of the TV, and watch news like we do, I think, every morning, unless I get to the channel changer first, and then it was Cartoon Network. But um like the first plane goes into the tower, and my mom was there, and she was like, "What the hell is this? Like, this isn't real. Like, this is a joke. This has got to be some kind of sketch." And so she turned to the other channel, showing the exact same footage and showing like commentary on it. She's like, "No, this is not happening. This can't be happening." Kept going to the next channel, and just it was everywhere, and it was just something that just wasn't fathomable. It was just nuts. It was just, it was just, and just thought it was like a cruel joke, and thought it was just something that, just wasn't necessarily real, even
Right.
though, obviously found out that it was real. And I had a few friends that ate school lunch or school breakfast, and they were even saying that, they watched the TV. They had the old RC cart, and it's got the strap on top of it and whatnot.
Yep.
And they were watching the news just like they did every morning. And then that's when the librarian like came in and was like, "Nope, not today," and like shut the TV off mid thing going on. So like I was the keeper of news at that point because I was at home watching it. So like I
Yeah.
like knew more information than like the kids that were at school eating the school breakfast and whatnot. So
Yeah.
it was just like something I felt like was talked about quite a bit. And like we were 7, so no one wanted us to talk about it. But it's just I don't know
Right.
how to go about that. You
Right.
know?
Well, it's interesting because the school I was in, it happened, and then they told us about it or whatever. I'm like, we're not really gonna understand it, right? But like, and they put the news on for us. Like they brought in the TV and like turned it on so we could watch it. And it was like, I get what they were trying to go at, and like, but like it was also like we didn't understand what was happening either. So like it didn't matter too much, I don't think. But like, because we just sat there in silence and watched it, you don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
You're just kind of
You
like,
don't know the grave situation going on during that time.
right. You're so young that you're just kind of trying to take in what you can, and but I just remember like everybody was sad, and it was like, okay, I guess this is a bad thing that happened. Like, like, and like slowly learn, like, kind of get a grasp on it, But
Yeah. Um, it's definitely crazy. And then to realize that my son is exactly 20 years younger than me, which I've known that, but it's just odd because now that we're going on the 20th anniversary, like I realize I am and we're only like, our birthdays are only like a week apart anyway. So like we're almost exactly, so he is the exact same age that I was when all this was going on. And we were eating breakfast and he was eating Lucky Charms. Wasn't eating Fruit Loops. He was eating Lucky Charms. And I was facing away from the TV, and he was watching the TV, and it was the news. And he like sat there and like he hit me, like he's like what's going on? Like he was looking at it because I think that was his first like view or the first time that he has ever known or talked about, September 11th. And so he thought it was really going on. He saw that and he's like, look, like, what's this? I was like, oh, and I told him, I said, this isn't live. Like, this happened 20 years ago. Like, this is something that happened a long time ago. And then after we got done eating, like, he pushed me a little bit further and was just asking, like, why that happened and if it was a movie or if it was fake or. And I might not have done the best thing, but I was like, well, I was his age when I was going through it, so might as well, kind of dive. And so we went and watched several videos on, everything that was going on, and he bawled and started to tear up, and I was like, maybe I did fuck up, and I showed him way too young, but it was tough. It was a rough situation, going through all that. And then today, when I was on TikTok, he was right next to me, so he saw that the guy with the cart pushing it through, and he didn't understand it at first, like why it was the beverage cart, but he's never flown on a plane, so I think he's probably never seen the beverage cart, and so that's why I was explaining to him. And
Right.
he started bawling then too. I was like, all right, we are in a strict no September 11th zone around you because I feel like you care too much about stuff, and this is like it's good that he like feels for it, but at the same time, like I don't know, I just don't
Right.
want to open them up to those can of worms and stuff like that. So it's
Yeah,
just like
don't want to overdo it either,
Right. Well, and it was just I was just scrolling, like I wasn't looking
Right.
for
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
on that piece. And that was like, oh shit. But then I asked him, which they might do it tomorrow, but then I asked him, I said, have they talked to you at all this week about September 11th? They're like, no, we haven't mentioned any of it. So I don't know if maybe it'll get brought up tomorrow since, it's on a Saturday. I don't know. It's just odd that it hasn't been brought up. I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
And I looked up because I was like, I don't know why this isn't a fucking national holiday. And then I found out like the last national holiday was like in the 70s or 60s, and like it's like pulling teeth to get federal holidays to be passed. And like Congress doesn't want to do it, so they just don't.
Right.
Just don't do it for anything. And so that'd be super highly like September 11th and like a few other things are like in the running that if that conversation does happen, like it would be one, but it's just saying that like it's probably not gonna ever happen. So
it's 20th anniversary. Never know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's not a lot to say about just in general. Like it's just tough to talk about with a lot of people. I mean.
Yeah, there's still people that have issues.
Right.
And rightfully so.
Right. And it's not even something like we felt directly because we weren't in that state or in that area and like being affected by it and like, but like, and I'm sure for them it's just way worse, right? But like, even the rest of the country felt for it. Like all of us felt for it when it happened, and like you could tell the entire nation was like in a slump of like emotion and not knowing what to do and like just lost. And it was weird.
Because even like Chris Stefano, one of my favorite comedians, that I mean you've listened to him off and on, but he even has that 9/11 story where he talks about how his mom worked in the office but was able to get out and whatnot, but he didn't know it at that time, and he started bawling when he figured out that his mom could be dead, which fuck, I mean that's just nuts to even have that thought process. But and someone was making fun of him for crying, and he just beat the shit out of him because you know what I mean. Like there were so many emotions going on. There was so much. That's just I don't know. It's just something that was just still crazy to even think that it occurred. And the fact that anyone that is in high school right now did not experience September 11th, which makes me feel old.
Yeah, a little bit.
I think there's even a few people in college that have not experienced. It's crazy to believe that it was that long ago.
Yeah, and And then for like somebody like this Canon guy to have to go in and try and assess what people's lives are worth, and like so, but like they had to, and they had to get people money and like get them support because otherwise, all these families were just gonna be out. So
Right, because like he wasn't the one that drafted the law that
right,
the damn airline companies couldn't be sued. Like you know what I mean? He was literally just trying to do what he could do to make sure that it was passed.
right,
And so it's just kind of nuts that that they didn't really care, or that they were. I mean, granted, they had to take their anger out on somebody, and it sucked that it was him. And everyone along the line said, you know, if you take this job, you're gonna feel all the heat. Like you're gonna have
right.
all of the hate. And like that's what I liked with Wolf, because I feel like there was more of a relationship between them that wasn't dove into the movie at all. Like it just
Yeah,
they had such a good story and they had such a good premise that they just fucked up royally. That's what kind of annoyed me, because there's so much to that story that's probably way better than what they
probably.
portrayed it as. And but the fact that like Wolf stood up for him, he's like, I don't know why you're yelling at him. Like he literally did not draft any of these laws. Like he's the one
Right,
that's like trying to get us help.
right. He's like, I get that you're mad because why wouldn't you be, and like emotional and sad and like, but like he's literally just telling us what's going on and like it go from there. Like, don't just yell at him. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's not getting anywhere.
Yeah.
So,
And then he started handing out those flyers at the end.
right, he's just like,
you're such an asshole.
fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. Like,
And
he's
I
just
love
doing it
that
in front of him, and then he gives him one at the end. Like, here you go.
doesn't explain to him, and he's like, "Oh wow, you're handing out flyers like this is so cool." I just want to let you know I'm your biggest enemy.
It's like, oh,
And then I love how at the end he's like, you know, on page 3 there's still that typo that I've already brought to your attention. I thought that was pretty good. That
yeah,
I feel like there's a better relationship between them than what the movie showed. Like I don't know if they were just trying to show they were too focused on the firefighter story. Like that was just
they were.
it was
Granted,
so unnecessary, but I don't know. It
I
just
get that it's important, and I get that, but like at the same time, they they just didn't talk about anything else. They talked about the government using him to assess the life worth, and then they talked about the firefighter and his wife and that story. That's it.
and then they mentioned the gay guy like maybe twice, and that was it.
Yeah, but like it was very minuscule, right? It was
Yeah.
very, very short scenes every single time. Like,
Yeah, it's just a few Holly Flax barely getting any attention whatsoever.
yeah,
And that's what the crazy part was, is that like Holly was his partner. And the fact that like she was there for like an interview here, maybe an interview there, helped with the immigrants. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like she didn't have much of a role, which I feel like she probably in real life had a giant role.
yeah.
But it was like they were more focused on Michael Keaton than they were
You know,
her.
when they went to go meet the immigrants, and Priya and her were there, and like she looks out the window and sees like the wreckage of
That
towers
was
and
fucking
stuff.
crazy. Like that was just
That was
inappropriate.
insane. It was insane because like you're having a meeting next to a graveyard.
Yeah, they should have not have met.
Like,
Yeah, I completely forgot about that. I
and
was
like
so
that
pissed when I saw
that
that. I
blew
was so
me away.
pissed.
I was like, how are you doing this? Like, how can you even be here right now? Like, if I lived in one of those buildings nearby, I would be like, nah, I'm leaving. I gotta go stay with some family or something. Like, I can't be here. Like, I can't.
Because you got to think about the smell, everything. I mean, it was just more
Well,
than the sight. Like it was just
right. Well, there's gonna be dust in the air for weeks, and like there's tons of stuff that,
yeah.
and it's just the fact that like those buildings were even like operational and like doing things. It's just
Yeah.
it's almost disgusting. But like, I get that they had to
100%.
like keep things going or whatever, but I don't know.
I don't know. 2021 shows that you really don't have to keep things going, or 2020. So,
Like you said,
but,
technology is not quite what it was then. So
yeah, no working from home.
Yep.
I put this website on the World Wide Web.
Right.
It's just
When you
funny
said that, I was
like
like,
you would never hear that shit today, ever.
No. Yeah.
It's just and there's just so much that story that I feel like was so much better. And hell, we might do a historical potatoes on it. I don't know. Maybe to do a better dive than what the movie was.
Maybe.
Because that really interested me. Like, I mean, I was so excited for this movie because I thought that was such a cool concept.
Right.
And I didn't even think about, like, obviously, like, the families got paid out, but I never once, in everything that I've ever thought about with September 11th, never once thought about
No, I
um,
never did either.
the payouts and stuff like that.
And when you were explaining it to me about what it was about, I was like, damn, they actually had to do that. Like they had to actually like assess people's lives and what they were worth and stuff. Like I never, like you said, I never thought of that. Like that just goes to show you, like you don't think about any of that stuff. Like when huge tragedies happen, like they still have to deal with all those different pieces of the puzzle.
And I thought it was pretty amazing. Like, it showed all the work that he did. Like, Virginia State
Mm-hmm.
or State Tech massacre, the hurricanes, the natural disasters,
Mm-hmm.
you know, just random gun down stuff like that, like the movie
Yeah.
theater in Colorado. And it's just nuts that this happens more time in our lives than we can possibly, like, I don't know. It just seems like I wouldn't think of it as a career. Like, I would think of it like as a side, you know what I mean? Like someone that
Right.
maybe one or two people in the world are dedicated to this because but the fact
Maybe.
that
Yeah.
people have to get paid out quite a bit on stuff, and the fact that how are you ever to determine how much a human life costs is what's the craziest piece of that whole aspect.
Yeah.
And the fact that you have to boil them down to numbers, like I don't know, it's crazy because I would never be able to boil someone down to a single number, and the fact
No.
that I don't know, it's fucking crazy. Then you have the stupid rich asshole fucking people that are like, why don't you just, go ahead and shrink down the bottom and make sure the top's taken care of. Like, it's not our fault that our clients planned, and blah, blah, blah. Like, the fact that you're penalizing them for having life insurance. It's like, well, and this sounds shitty, but that person's life is worth X amount of dollars. If they're getting revenue streams from other places, such as life insurance and pensions and whatnot, then it makes it to that dollar amount. The person that's living paycheck to paycheck is still worth X amount of dollars, and they shouldn't be punished. Their family shouldn't be punished because they weren't able to. You know what I mean? You don't plan to die. Like
Right.
you don't. Oh, next Tuesday sounds like a good day to die. You know what I mean? Like it's not
Right.
like that at all. So the
No
fact
one's
that they're
ever
like,
ready to die.
exactly.
Like,
And how many of those people were young?
right.
That that were working in the kitchens and working as a janitorial staff, like where they're so young that they're not planning life insurance. They're not planning.
Yeah, they could be 16, 17, 18-year-olds that were working jobs minimum wage just trying to make money.
Yep. And supposedly they're punishing the rich by not having a life insurance policy.
Right, that makes sense.
Like, I
Seriously?
hate corporations and I hate rich people so fucking much. Like, I do. I truly do. It's just,
they fucking suck.
Yeah. But yeah, so September 11th, if you guys, I mean, this is live, so it'll come September 11th. It's in technically like a day and a few minutes. And if you guys listen to this afterwards, I mean, that's totally fine as well. But we just wanted to kind of gauge, and there's tons of different September 11th stories that have came out, and there's tons that have that are probably still being made, and I think there's still a few more that are being released this week too as well. But I really liked the premise of the story. I just didn't think it was executed very well, but I thought this was probably one of the cooler stories, I guess. I don't know if cooler sounds very inappropriate, but more interesting stories that came out from September 11th. I just wish that they told the story better, and that's something that I feel like a historical potato, really, honestly. Like I'm kind of possibly going to write that down and do a whole lot more research and
that'd be a good one.
Maybe dive into it on that piece, because I really enjoyed.
If they wrote a movie, there's definitely going to be information out there. So
right, absolutely, and obviously like stuff that was dramatized and whatnot, like be able to break down those barriers,
Yeah.
And so, and then learning about other victims that were, because literally like we didn't know about a single other victim besides like the 20-second stories that they were constantly
Yeah.
going in and out and being rushed on. But like,
Yeah.
you didn't know shit about, and obviously, like on a Historical Potatoes podcast, we're not going to be able to dive into
Right.
all 6,000 families, but I would like to highlight some of the ones that didn't get highlighted.
Some justice,
Yes,
if you
I
will.
think it'd be a whole lot more interesting than that movie. Even have to hear myself talk.
How about it?
But yeah, so as we say that, we have several. I mean, I guess that kind of ends the story part or the story piece or whatever. But we have a whole lot of stuff going on. We launched our new Historical Potatoes, which if you go to any of their website links at the link tree, it'll be there. So that's where we do weird and obscure stories, or just stories that are not brought up as well as they need to be, or
Right.
not harped on. So, for example, this story, like I think this would be a beautiful one. Though that we did pop up on our first week, and our second week, I guess, is now out. It was over Cannibal Island. We broke it up into 2 pieces, so it's a very interesting read. It's about a gulag, not a Call of Duty one, but an actual gulag that happened before World War II, where a lot of people died,
Yeah,
and some people ate each other.
it got intense at some points to where I was like, we're really gonna put this on the internet. All right. We're doing it.
It goes dark and deep,
It
but
does.
it's an interesting podcast that I think we're going to have a whole lot more on there. Forrest is going to have a lot of happy ones, and I'll have a lot of sad ones or more
I'll
serious
try.
ones. But I think it's going to be super interesting. We're going to try to release those on Tuesday every week. And then obviously Historical or Rotten will still come out on Thursday/Friday every week. But if you guys have any stories or anything like that that you might want to have us dive into, that'd be interesting and cool and fun. Let us know. The second thing is our TikTok. Our TikTok's pretty cool, pretty amazing. If you guys want to hop over to that, again, it's in our link tree. That's where you'll find everything. So if you're on YouTube watching us, our link tree will take you to Facebook. If you're watching us on Facebook, link tree will take you over to YouTube. And we have TikTok. We have a few promotional items that are on there. We have, I'm trying to think, there's anything. We don't have a Snapchat. We don't have. Oh, we do have
No,
Instagram, so it'll throw up on
we
our
do.
Instagram. And then also, last but not least, Forrest and I have always teetered in and always somewhat had a passion and a want to stream. And so I think we're gonna try to dive on that, which it's also on our link tree. As of right now, I'm still not at that piece where I'll be streaming, but Forrest is, and I think you're what 6 to 10 or 4 to 10,
4 to 10. Yep.
4 to 10 every day, or
Yep.
most
Three
days.
to 10, 4 to 10 between Monday through Friday right now. So
Monday through
that's the
Friday, so
starting
take the
schedule
weekends off.
for now. I mean, we'll probably have some late night streams with people, but
Central Standard Time, also known as God's time. So we have that on there. I'm trying to think. I really don't think we have anything else on our link tree.
I
But
think
really,
that
everything that you
covers.
need that involves us, that involves our lives, is all through our link tree. Which I believe is in our abouts on everything. But if not, I will go ahead and put that on there right now, or as I get to it.
Yeah.
Kind of caught me off guard a little bit.
It will be there.
Yes,
You'll be able to
it'll
link to
definitely
wherever
be
you
there.
need to go
Oh my
from
God,
anywhere.
this I went to TikTok to grab up our thing, and it's just videos are starting to play, and it's loud in my ear. My bad. And so yeah, pretty much anything and everything in here, I'll click on it just to see. Yeah, looks like we're say that you're watching us on YouTube or on Facebook right now, and you want to watch us or listen to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or anything like that. That's also on there. And then vice versa, if you're listening to us on the Apple Podcasts and whatnot, our link tree will take you to YouTube, to Spotify, to wherever else that you would love to listen to us through. So I'm getting ready to put that in there now.
Yeah. Easy way to keep up with us. All those different links, and
I know we have a lot of ideas, and we sprout a lot of
we do.
ideas, and we are constantly. And I think Linktree was probably the best option, just for the
Oh,
sole
yeah.
fact that we have a new idea like every moment. So
That's fair.
that's why we're doing what we're doing. And then historical should be on there, where you can click on that and you'd follow into that realm of historical. And then last but not least, obviously, like, we're on our second podcast, Making Skills, and so I mean, like, probably down the line we'll probably have another podcast that gets thrown up there. But if you guys are interested, you love what we're doing, and you think that, you know, there's something that you guys could do, because podcasting really is not that hard. I mean, we just have a few things, as long as you have a laptop, really, or just anything that can record your voice to your phone. You could easily, actually, now that I think about it, you could easily do a podcast just from your phone.
Yeah, for sure.
Bill Burr does it. He does the Monday morning podcast where he literally just records notes on his phone and then fucking throws it up there. But
Nice.
yeah, if you guys want to do it, follow the link. It's in the description of our video, and it's pretty much plastered everywhere, and it's in our link tree. You know, you get a paid one today, and once you do that, you're showing support for our podcast and kind of showing Buzzsprout that we're sending people their way. And you also get a $20 Amazon gift card, so you really can't beat that, because literally everything Amazon. So
It's free money.
yeah, free money, and so you'll get to be awesome and start your own podcast and let us know about it, and you'll get a $20 gift certificate too on top of it. So, but I'm trying to think if I have any more rants or tangents, but I think I don't. Do you have any more?
No, I think you covered just about all of them. I mean, if you enjoy this at all, like, we have tons of stuff out there for you guys to go check out. Like, we've done tons of episodes on here, and historical is going to keep going because we're super deep into that, and like, we're both really enjoying it, I think. And at least I am. I just sat through one. I didn't even do one yet. I just listened and asked questions, and I had a good time.
Next week, though, you
next
are
week
the one that gets thrown on
flipping it. So
Yeah.
it's going to be different. So
I'm so excited to be the one that listens and gets the poke and prod.
We'll see how well I can get through it, you know, but I'll do my best. So,
but I'm super interested. But I think, yeah, that wraps it up for this week.
Yep. Tune in next week. We'll spoil something new.